I don't think it's going to take us a long time this evening. But what I want to do is I want to make our hinges and put those in our book. And I want to make the, I've called them page slips because, to be honest with you, I'm not really quite sure what to call them. Hi, Linda. Hi, Sally. So I've called them page slips, but basically, oops, it's these bits. It will be what would be a page in a hidden hinge book, because basically it's this, it is a hidden hinge. It's just that instead of a closed page, it's just got this little slip cover where we put our little mini book. So I really want to get that done tonight. So I'm afraid no playing with pattern paper yet. That'll be next week. But if we can get that done, that would be a good start. Now, what I forgot to tell you to do last week, and I apologise profusely, but it doesn't matter. And I've just done mine actually. So I want to cover up the white Tyvek, because we don't want white Tyvek to show here underneath. So what I want you to do, and I've just done mine, so I'm just going to tell you what I've done, is I want you to cut a piece of black, your black cardstock that's just under the 10 inches, which is the width here. And then I've cut this at 5 inches and I've just stuck it on. But here you can see I haven't put it on very well. There's just a little bit of a black, you can still see the Tyvek down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Sharpie and I'm going to just colour that over where the white Tyvek is there. And the other place that I'm going to do it as well, where you might want to do it, hi Samantha, is over the top here, where you know where we've got our Tyvek card mix. You can see a little bit of white. You might like that, which is absolutely fine. But I'm going to get a Sharpie and I'm going to just cover that over so that I don't see it. Okay? Right. So if you do that first of all, so what I want you to do, like I said, is cut a piece that's just under the 10, and then 5 inches, and just glue it over the top of that Tyvek, okay? And that's going to be the very bottom of your book. So that can be drying whilst we make our hinges, because that's the next bit that I want to do. So, hearts next week, Libby. Excellent. We need to do another Alice book, maybe. Hi, Jill. Hi, Diana. Hi, Danette. Who else have I missed? Quite a few of you. I do apologise. Right, okay, so the 4 mini books that go inside this book, that go inside the briefcase, as like I said, they slot into what I'm calling page slips. But it's ever so easy because it goes into literally the ordinary hidden hinge binding that we've all made so many times before. So there's nothing unusual or difficult about this, okay? So if you want to grab your trimmers, and Jane's got a new one, I happen to know. So grab your trimmer, grab a piece of your black cardstock or whatever colour you're using, and I want you to cut at, why have I said cut by 10 at 9.5 inches? That's not right at all. See, this is why I don't like you cutting out beforehand, because I'm just not with it at all. You need to cut it at 10. Cut it at 10 inches. I made this morning out of a piece of A4 to make sure that my measurements were right as well. I know what I've done. Right, so just cut that down to 10 inches, okay? The width of a piece of A4. So 8.25. But we're going to score on the 8.25 inch side, okay? And we're going to score at 1 inch, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5 and 6. Just let me count. Let's make sure we've got the right number. So that's 1, 2, 3. Right, and then it's 6.5.
Is that starting from 1?
So you're starting at 1. You're scoring at 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6 and 6.5 inches. So what we're going to have when we come to put our hinges together is these first two. That's our first hinge. Then we've got a 1/2 inch gusset. Then our next hinge, that's hinge number 2. Then a 1/2 inch gusset. Then hinge number 3. 1/2 inch gusset and hinge number 4. Okay. I'll change that and I'll just replace it in the in the group. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to fold on that second score line as a mountain fold, and then the next two are like valley folds. So that is going to be our first hinge. Okay, so we've just folded our first hinge like that. Okay, then we're going to have a 1/2 inch gusset, so that's going to be flat to the book, and then we're going to fold our next hinge
Did we score on the 10 inch side, was it?
No, I scored on the 8.25 inch side. Okay, so now we've got two. So we've got, this is what I call the wing, which is going to attach to our book. Then we've got a hinge, a gusset, a hinge. That next one's going to be a gusset. So we're going to have a hinge here. Oh, it would really help if I folded it in the right place. Okay, so looking at it from this point of view, we've got our wing, and then we've got our hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge, then we've got another gusset, and then our final hinge, hinge number 4. Okay. Okay, right, so we've got wing, hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge. Okay, and then a final wing. Is this all right with everybody now? Yep. So what we've got to do now is glue our hinges together so that they're nice and tight when we come to put them into our book. Okay, so here's how I do mine. I'm just gonna spread that out a bit, and I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape because I like to keep this I use to kind of keep the hinge together when I'm while the glue's drying. Okay, so I've just put a little bit of double-sided tape there. And I'm going to put some glue, some wet glue, along that hinge there. I'm just going to make sure that's got a really good sharp crease. And that's our first hinge made. Okay, so what we've done is we've glued that hinge together. Okay, and now we're going to do the same, but remember you've got a gusset here, so we're leaving that be. Little bit of double-sided tape in there. Put some wet glue down inside that hinge. We're going to glue that together now as well. Let's make sure we've got a nice sharp crease there. Okay, so what I've got now are two of my hinges glued down, so they're stuck together and glued, okay? And I'm going to do the same with the next one. Oh, it's a nice noise, isn't it? Okay, let's glue that in. Okay, so I've got 3 hinges now, and now I'm just going to do the last one.
There's 4 mountains, aren't there?
You are sorry?
There's 4 mountains.
Yeah, 4 mountains. That's right, because we've got 4 hinges. Okay. Right, I'm just going to burnish these with my hinges going both ways just so that they get used to moving, because we've got to kind of break up the fibres in that paper. So there you go, there's my hidden hinge. So what I've got here is, don't worry about the fact that that one's slightly wider, that's because I didn't measure it properly, but it doesn't matter in the slightest. So I've now got my hinge, my 4 hinges all stuck together. I've got my 2 wings and I've got the gussets, okay? So what I need to do now is I need to attach this into my book, okay? So to do that, what I'm going to do is, ooh, just not that. First of all, you've got to bear in mind that we're working on this bit. We're working on the bottom of the book, okay? So if I just show you here, let me just take these 4 mini books out and it might make better sense. Let me just put those to one side for a bit. Okay, so this is our book all laid out. Okay, I mean obviously this one's covered in pattern paper, but what we're working on now are these 4 bits here, these page slips, okay? And these are on a that hidden hinge that we've just made, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop that hinge into the book, and then we're going to make these page slips and we're going to pop them on, okay? You do need chocolate, Danette, but it's not because this is difficult, because it really isn't. It's ever so easy, okay? Hi, Wendy. All right, so that's what we're going to do now. So let me just pop my book back together. Okay, so this bit, that's the bottom bit. This is where the hinges are going to go, because this is where the page slips are going to go, all right? So what I need to do, first of all, is work out where the middle is, because this is going to sit on top there like that, okay? And that's what our page slips are going to go onto. Evening, Alison. This is all making sense, isn't it? Hi, Liz. You haven't missed much, apart from the fact my cutting guide's wrong, but nothing new there. Okay? So, the way that I measure and put these on, because you can't always see, can you? Because obviously, you know, we're going to be covering a lot of it up, is that I know that the middle, what needs to fit on the middle here is the middle of my hinges. So I've got 4 hinges, so the middle is going to be halfway in between the middle 2 hinges, yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil and I'm going to grab a ruler and I'm going to just mark in pencil on these edges where the middle is. Now, I've still lost my good ruler. I don't know where it is. And I've got a very iffy pencil here that isn't sharp at all. Let's see if I've got one over there. That's marginally better. So I think, was it 2.5 inches the spine? I think it was. Yep, so half of 2.5 is 1.25. So I am just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to make myself a little mark at 1.25 inches there. Okay, so I can see that, but once I've put my hinges on, nobody else will be able to see it. Okay, and I'm going to measure that on this side as well. So I'm just measuring 1.25 inches. So I don't know how well you can see this. So I've got a little mark there so that I know that when I come to put my hinges on, that the middle of that hinge needs to be, or the middle of that gusset needs to be where the middle of my spine is, okay? And that means that I'm going to be able to line it up straight. Now, this is probably the most important bit of this book. This is the bit that you have to get right. So what I'm going to say is we're going to glue this, we're going to adhere it, and we're going to attach it here. But you need to make sure that there is plenty of glue because we need it to be as flat and as stuck as possible. So here's how I do it. I put a little bit of double-sided tape on. Now, I'm not a huge lover of double-sided tape, but it has its uses. And one of its main uses, in my opinion, is to keep things in place while the wet glue dries, okay? So I'm just going to put a little bit on there. I'm just going to make this flat for a minute, okay? And now I'm going to do, well, I'm not going to pretend I'm 5 years old, because if I was 5 years old, I'd just upend the glue onto the back of my hinge. But I'm going to make sure that I am using plenty of glue. So, I'm now adding glue, wet glue, to my hinge, and it is really important that we get plenty on where our hinges are, okay? So, let me just put glue on my wings. Like that. But now I need to make sure that I have got plenty of glue on the back of those gussets, because this has to lie absolutely flat onto our spine. Okay, so let's make sure I've got plenty of glue. What a work of art in itself that is. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it down so I know where the middle is, because it's the middle of those two, middle of that gusset, the middle of those two hinges. So let's just put that down, and let's just make sure that it lines up at the other side as well, because that is what's going to make it straight. Okay, now it is so important that our gussets are tight, flat to the spine of our book. So important. Okay, let me just make sure that all lines up. Yes, I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to use my bone folder, and I am going to keep going backwards and forwards to make sure that we have got the best stick, because this is so important. Now, if you haven't made a book with me before with hidden hinge binding, you're not going to like the next bit. because what I'm going to tell you to do is keep going over it for the next 10 minutes or so, like this, just to make sure that it's stuck down as well as possible. But then I want you to leave it, and I want you not to touch it, and I want you not to... Thank you, dear. I want you not... You being my stunt double, my hand stunt double. Are you eating midget gems?
Yeah, that's why I'm quiet.
Oh, I thought it was. Who was I talking to earlier about midget gems? Oh, yes, I've got a message for you. I'll tell you later, dear.
What?
Yeah, you enabling people. Helen's been to a quarter of. Yes, so anyway, what I'm going to tell you to do is not fold this. I don't want you to fold it until next week. Now, yes, it will be dry before then, but if you get impatient and fold it before it's dried, you are so likely to have a tear or a crack in your spine, and you don't want that. And I will be honest, and I will tell you that I was making our next book earlier this week, and I didn't listen to my own advice, and I split it. I split the spine all the way down one side because I didn't take my own advice. So my own advice is to leave it, and I know it's hard, but don't fold it, because all sorts of horrible things will happen. It'll become wrinkled and crinkly and all the things you don't want. Right, so there we go. So that is my hinge binding into my book. You can see here, I think, and I'm lagging a bit, so I might have to just hold on a minute just to see catch up. Yeah, you'll see where, no, hang on, where am I? There. Yeah, that it's flat. It's got to be flat to the book, okay? So it sits really tight onto the spine, all right? Okay. You do need a flat gusset, Libby. You are so right. Jackie, I'll leave it a week. I do leave it a week, I've got to be honest. And I know it's a, what's the word I want? Well, it's pain not doing it. But trust me, if you're making a book on your own and, you know, you haven't got me breathing down your neck, then overnight would be my advice. But I have left a book for an hour and ruined it by not leaving it long enough. You really need to leave it at least 3 hours, at least. But if you do fold it, I mean, who am I to judge? I've done it, but I've also ripped it. So there you go. Yes, Tracy, I know, I'm sorry. This is the only bit of control I have over you guys. And I'm just mean. Right, so let's just get that bit stuck down again, because it doesn't want to stick on this side. Okay, right, so I'm going to put that to one side because I'm not going to be doing anything else to that tonight. So I'm going to leave it. But what I want to do now is I want to make those page slips. So grab your cutters, your trimmers.
Which bit? Does the spine bit go on?
Right. This bit. So here's one I made earlier. Okay, this is my Duff one. This is what we had earlier. And when the book folds up, it'll be like that. Okay, that is your briefcase shape. Okay, so it's curvy on the top and curvy on the sides. All right. When you open it up, our hinge is going on the spine, which is this bit down here. Okay, so you've got your flaps up at the top, which form the shape of the briefcase, and this is the spine. So this is the front of your briefcase, this is the bottom of the case, and your spine is going on the opposite side to the bottom. So here's my original. There's the bottom. This bit is this bit. That bit opens out like that. These are the side bits. And then these are what we're going to make now. These page slips. And they're attached onto our hidden hinge binding. Okay? Does that make sense? Right. Okay. Right, let me just get that one out of the way. Right, so that is going to one side now because I don't want to fold it and wreck it like I did earlier this week with the new one. Okay, right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut our page slips. All right, so I've lost my thing. Right, so we're going to cut 4 at 11 by 4 inches. So you're going to get 2 of these out of one sheet of British A4. Okay, so 11 inches by 4 inches, and you're going to want 4 of these all together. Okay, so there's 1, there's 2, oh, congrats, Celeste. Yeah, why not?
Oh, they're not used.
Yeah, not used ones. Okay, so I've got 4 at 4 by 11. Now I need to cut 4 at 4 by 9 7/8 of an inch. Basically, the width of this slip thing is 10 inches. But when I show you in a minute, when we do the folding on this, if we make this bit 10 inches, it's just ever so slightly too long for it to sit flat. So I'm going to cut it at 9 7/8 by 4, and I'm going to need 4 of these. Okay. Right, and I've told you to keep all your bits of chipboard and Tyvek and card mix and stuff. These little bits, there's no point in keeping those. You can chuck them. Oh, I've lost my bin. Oh, there it is.
Under all that rubbish.
It is under all that rubbish. Okay, so 9 7/8 by 4. Okay. Right, grab your scoreboard. And we're going to take the larger pieces, which are 4 by 11. And we're going to score on the 11-inch side. So that means I'm putting my 11-inch piece at the top, and I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to score at 10.5 inches. So what I've got here is, on my larger pieces, I've got 2 parallel score lines, 1 at each end. Okay. Yes, it's a good opportunity for the drinking game tonight, Helen. Except it's a school night. I thought we just did that on Fridays. So I'm scoring on the 11-inch side. At 1/2 inch and at 10.5 inches. And that's on all 4 pieces exactly the same. Okay. Right. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold on those score marks like that. And I'm going to burnish. Okay, exactly the same on all 4. So what you've got are 2 parallel flaps. Okay, nearly there. Ooh. Okay, so these bits without the score marks, in theory, should just fit in there without any bowing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on the inside of these flaps and fold it over. So what we're going to have is like an open page. So once we've glued that, we're going to have something like that. Okay? Because that, the top bit is where our books are going to slip in, and the bottom bit is where we're going to attach them next week to the hidden hinge binding. Okay? So there's nothing difficult about this at all. Okay? So, let me just put some glue on the inside of those flaps, like that. And let's fold that over. Okay. So what I've got now, it looks like a page, but it's, you can see all the way through, and like I said, we will be putting, hang on, we'll be slipping our books in like that, and then at the bottom we'll have the hinge, which is where these attach to the book. So the bit that we've just done, this isn't going to work now because we haven't mitered the corners yet, but in essence, that is going to slip onto there, okay, like that. Don't worry if it doesn't at the moment, I wouldn't expect it to, because we need to mitre it, okay, and we're not putting them all the way down to the score line anyway, okay, because it helps them to lie flatter. So we're going to do exactly the same on all 4 of these, okay?
Can you remember what size we changed the hinge?
It was 10 inches by, I did it at 8 1/4, but it can be slightly less than that. So it was the width of a British A4.
You
But
just want
basically,
an inch out at either end, don't you, really?
yeah. You're starting at 1 inch and you are scoring at 1/2 inch increments from 1 inch to 6.5 inches, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3.
That's 7.5 inches, isn't it?
Yeah.
10 by 7.5.
Well, I'll change it the second we finish class anyway.
Yeah, I'll just send that.
Yeah. And I'll just, what I'll do is I'll just replace it. Okay, last one. Right, when we're done, I've got something I want to show you. Something I've been promising you for a long time, but we are almost there. Okay. Right, so those are our page slips done, all 4 of them, like that. And we're going to just put those to one side to dry, and then we're going to be using those next week, okay? So that's all I want to do tonight. I think this book, just to be sure that we all get it right, is going to be a case of little and often. So next week what we're going to do is we're going to start decorating up our actual briefcase, and we're going to also start to maybe add in some of the hardware. Now, I'm not showing you the new Bloom Street yet, but I am going to show you something which is quite exciting, I think. But you're going to have to bear with me while I explain. So, do you remember I told you that I wanted to make have some stamps made that were specifically for mini bookmakers? Now I'm changing, these are my samples, okay? I am changing the background because it doesn't work for me. But this is our stamps. I've been practicing with them already, but I just want to talk you through what they're all about, really. So ignore the slip that they're on, because that's not working for me, so I'm just going to have that plain. But basically what we've got here is a set of mini book making stamps. Now let me explain how it works. What we've got here is a set of frames. So you know how in a mini book, where if you're giving away a book or you just enjoy making them for fun and you put a photo mat in where a photo would go, this is to help people with that, because one of the criticisms that I have seen about mini books and people who don't make mini books and don't understand them is that they don't know what to do with stuff. So this is helping to simplify that. It'll make your photo mats more interesting, even if you're not giving it away, but if you are giving it away, it'll tell people exactly what to do. So this frame here, that will fit inside a standard 6 by 4 inch photo shape. This one is 4 by 4, so for your Instagram style photos. This one is 3 by 4, so half the size of that, and that's the size that I use quite a lot. And then this one here is half the size again, which is a a 2 by 3. So you've got frames. Now over here, what you've got, because we've got lots of word stamps, you've got place your blank photo here. Now I don't know what I've done with the one that I was playing with. I dread to think where it's gone. But basically down here we have got some sizes. So if I was stamping here onto a 6 by 4 inch photo mat, I would stamp my place your 6 by 4 inch photo here in there. So if I was giving this away, people would know exactly what to do with it. Then we've got a lot of images that are useful, like the arrows, like hearts. We've got our little cameras here, all that sort of thing. But we've also got some other phrases which are kind of useful. So we've got turn over, write the story. So if people want to fill in some journaling. Fave photo, which you can use instead of place your whatever size photo here. Handmade with care by. Now I will tell you that at some point we're going to have a paper scissors story version of these, which isn't quite so PC. That's all I'm saying. But over here as well, we've got some other words that are quite useful in here. So it could say pull here, or open here, or lift here, look inside. These words are meant that you can just add them, you know, in any combination that you feel is important. We've got these two frames here, which these words kind of fit in as well, if you want to have that sort of consistent look throughout. Now, these stamps can be available certainly within the next 2 or 3 weeks. What I would like to do is get an idea of how many I am ordering. They're going to retail at £19.99. They are A4 sized. So I apologise that these are so scruffy, but I have been using them because I want to make sure that they work really well, which they do. So there's quite a lot of stamps on here. They are this, you know, good thick photopolymer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some information up in the group, and then I'll do a pre-order in the shop as well. Just incidentally about the shop, I will just say that we're just having a bit of a revamp of it in the way that it's organised, so you can find what you need. We're absolutely focusing on the mini book side of things because that's what we know, that's what we love. And you might, if you're looking for something specific, either search specifically on that name, or let me know what you're looking for and you can't find, and I'll tell you where it is. So, because I've actually got to go through every single item in the shop. There's been about 1,000, I think, lines in there. I have to go through and basically make sure that everything's cross-referenced. So it's taking me a little bit of time. Sandy, yes, absolutely, will mail to Canada. It's not going to be much to send because I can put it in a postal box, which will go as a large letter, which I think is somewhere in the region of, is between 10 and 12 pounds, because they're heavy, but they're not too heavy. So I will get you some exact prices for that. But yes, we can ship all over the world, and it will go with Royal Mail, which means that because it's lighter, it's potentially much more cost effective. Okay, right, so yeah, I just wanted to show you those. Like I said, I'm taking this off the back because it doesn't work, so we've slightly changed the design of the insert, but I hope that they will be useful. I've had a lot of conversations with people, you know, about how to, you know, about how we can use them. And my second set is going to the wonderful Kerry Gibson, who you'll know knocking about. She does a lot of stamping work. You'll see a lot of her work in the group, and she says she's got some bright ideas for using them for things other than books. So watch out over the next couple of weeks, because both Kerry and I are going to have some samples for you to show you exactly you know, how they can work and what we can use them for. Okay, right, so I hope you love them as much as I do. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with them. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I'll put that in the group, and I'll get a pre-order going in the shop. They are British made. They have been British designed by a lady who designed our website, amongst other things, and also British made. So you know, for all you Brits out there, you know, that's always a good thing, isn't it? You know, positive to have them made in the UK. Right, okay guys, I will see you on Friday for Storyteller, and back here next Wednesday for some more of our Vagabond. So lots of love to you all. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye. Oh, hello Judith. Goodbye.